Hello, we are back this week to dive into the Danger era. But before we do, I would just like to add in BTS's flinch game clip and make a bit of a meme out of it because this whole video was so funny and left me hollering.
They're the heroes, so you got to expect the reaction.
What you
That's
think?
okay, that's okay.
You think they'll be cool
Yeah,
behind that? You think they'll be cool? You think they'll flinch?
I mean, they're the most cowards of our age.
But come on. Yeah, I'm not afraid, you know.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again. Because a vision softly creeping.
Alright, so now for this era. Okay, so BTS released their first studio album called Dark and Wild on the 19th of August 2014, and it contained 14 tracks with Danger as the title track. On the 30th of July 2014, Big Hit launched a countdown clock leading up to the album's release, and on the 5th of August, they uploaded the comeback trailer, which was a pretty interesting trailer in my opinion. It starts out in a pretty forest and then pans into like rubble and abandoned structures while RM's intro track known as What Am I to You plays in the background. The scenes are very contrasting. On the 7th of August 2014, the company released the first teaser and concept photos. Then they released a song composed and produced by Suga called Let Me Know for free streaming.
마무리된 이 선율 위에서 나 홀로 버티고 있어 이제 내게 말해줘 끝났단 걸 let me know.
Then the album's track list was revealed and Danger was confirmed to be the title track. The music video was released on the 19th of August 2014. This track really took them back to their roots but in a less cringy way. The song had a pretty strong hip-hop vibe, and we even got to hear a few verses from rapper Jungkook. This video also held some of the first clues for their upcoming HYYH era. It was the first time we saw a burning piano. RM was just starting to tat up, and the clip of V cutting his hair was used in his short film. So they all tie together. And literally thinking about that makes me want to rip my eyes out because how did they plan this so flawlessly? I get so heated thinking about it because dead come on Big Hit. Kill me. Come on, just end it now please. Anyways, so yeah, this was their first official studio album and they made sure it had a pretty grounded hip-hop and R&B sound. Now let's get into categories. Category 1. Style. Alright, so the boys went back to dressing like edgy rappers. And this time it was a lot less cringy. They mainly wore black and gold. Like at least 2 of the boys were always wearing leather jackets. And then they'd wear t-shirts underneath. If we get into specifics, Jimin wore a snapback for a little bit. And he also wore like vests. Like in the beginning he would always have a little black vest on. But towards the end he started wearing black t-shirts and button-ups and just Jesus f***ing Christ did he look good. Jin also wore a lot of vests during the beginning. And then again, towards the end they started putting him in t-shirts as well. Oh my baby Suga. Well, he sometimes wore snapbacks with a bandana. And he also wore like cut-off tees with a leather jacket. RM was always wearing a leather jacket or black blazer or a black shirt. Or just anything black LMAO. J-Hope looked so good during this era in my opinion. He wore a black leather jacket over t-shirts most of the time and I don't know, he just always looked so nice. Jungkook still looked like a little baby and like I know he was going for the bad boy rapper vibe, but he just looked so cute to me all the time and I couldn't take it serious LMAO. Anyways, he normally just wore black t-shirts and sometimes paired them with a leather jacket or jean jacket. Lastly, V. Okay, so V wore snapbacks sometimes and sometimes didn't. He also sometimes wore a jean jacket and sometimes wore a leather jacket, just depending on what look they were going for. And altogether they always wore either leather pants or ripped black skinny jeans. They started wearing gold chains and rings again too. Category 2. Hair. Alright, so for this era there were a lot of straight haired looks rather than like the curly or messy looks. Jimin had brown hair and at the beginning he wore it down with a snapback, and then towards the end of the era he wore it up. I don't know how to explain it so you can just look for yourself, but it was such a good look. Like I bust a nut when I see his hair like that and I wish they would bring it back. Jin had dark red colored hair and he wore it parted to the side, with both sides kind of curled under to make him look like a little prince, and it was really similar to the look he had during the Fire era, but his hair was just different colors. Suga had a deep red kind of color to his hair and it really did remind me of Chucky. Anyways, he wore it down in his face, and his bangs were still kind of choppy and his hair was textured, and towards the end of the era he started wearing a snapback with it and it was such a look. RM still had blonde hair and wore it up in a mohawk again, and it pretty much stayed like that during the whole era. J-Hope had light brown hair and it was kind of styled similar to Jin's, and just geez, I think it looked so nice on him. Jungkook had black hair for this era and he wore it down and it was always straightened and brushed to one side of his face. V had the curse casted upon during this era, and that curse was known as the coconut head curse. Lord have mercy on his soul. Just kidding. But not really. Anyways, he had brown hair and just yep, he looked like a coconut, and the poor baby had to go through that during the whole era. Category 3. Makeup. Alright, so we'll make this quick because their makeup looks are super similar to every single era in the past LMAO. Okay, so they all wore smoky eyeliner and I think Jungkook wore eyeshadow sometimes, or at least during the music video he did. But anyways, yeah, they all just had an overall smoky look. Category 4. Awards 1. Category 5. Variety shows. Alright, so let's just talk about American Hustle Life first. So AHL was a show the boys were on in where they went to LA to learn more about hip-hop culture. And yeah, there were a lot of good memories from the show. But low-key it can be a bit cringy sometimes. But it really does help you get to know each of the members better.
Shake that off. Turn it up. Matter of fact, give me 10 jumping jacks, alright? Okay.
They appeared on BTS Idol show, and I remember watching this when I first got into them but I haven't watched it since. And all I remember is that they do challenges to eat food. I'm not sure LMAO. Then they were also in an episode called Go BTS, which was basically just an episode of them completing challenges in the US. And we also got a lot of pretty good memes out of it.
놀러 자신 있다. 놀러봐. 말같이 나오는데 너. 그냥 거북이처럼 나오는데요?
And lastly, they were on A Song For You, where they got to talk about their new album and sing some of the songs off it.
상남자 연장선이에요. 상남자에서 너의 오빠가 되고 싶다고 얘기를 했어요. 그래서 결국에 오빠가 되는데 성공을 합니다. 곰소품이요. 네, 어쨌든 사귀게 돼요. 그래서 만나게 되는데 왠지 나 혼자만 좋아하는 것 같고 이 친구는 날 별로 좋아하는 것 같지 않다 이 말이죠.
이게 뭐 팔로 온 것 같은데?
Category 6. The members' individual personalities. Jin. Alright, so compared to when they first debuted, I think Jin was starting to come out of his shell a bit more in this era and be a little bit more active on camera. I know that the company wanted him to act quiet so he would come off as a cool man, but I think they were becoming more lenient with it and he was beginning to break free from that label. Suga was definitely a lot less energetic than he was in the No More Dream era, and maybe he was just maturing, or maybe he was just tired from the busy schedules. But yeah, he definitely calmed down a bit, but we still got to see him be all goofy every once in a while. J-Hope. I really don't think J-Hope has changed too drastically over the years, so to me he still seemed like a pretty confident guy who liked making us laugh. He said he was going for a more mature vibe during this era, but you know his inner hobby always broke through. RM. RM was still a mature dude and he was leading his team real nice towards success, but I could definitely get a sense of what his personality was like by now. He also had his moments of being a silly goose, and those moments always reminded me that although he can come off as a serious and hard-working leader, he still was such a fun and loving guy.
화가 많이 났습니다. 자, 오염.
Jimin was still a goofy little teen who liked to play around with the other boys, and said he was trying to go for a sexier look during this era, which I think he succeeded at, but yeah, I really don't have much to say. He was just a cute little dude who liked getting into trouble with V. Speaking of V, I didn't discuss the boys' personalities during the last era, but V was so funny, oh my god. He was so wild and just said the randomest things and just wow. Such a golden era. And he was like that during this era too, but like turned down a few notches, and I think that that's because, like J-Hope had said, they were going for a more mature / serious concept, so he had to contain himself sometimes. But still, Jesus f***ing Christ, he was so funny. Jungkook was still a teen and maturing into the grown full course meal of a man he is today, and he said he was trying to be a bad boy again. But like, I just couldn't see that, because every time I looked at him or he did something, I just saw it as cute instead of cool or sexy. LMAO, sorry, he was just a little cutie whom which I adored. Category 7. Some of my favorite moments. Alright, last category. So let's start with Bangtan bombs. First of all, the one where the boys are playing the bottle cap game and JK loses and gets hit on the wrist and cries for his mom.
야, 눈부터 때려. 끝내. 엄마 보고 싶다.
Second, the one where JK is showing us music and V just does the funniest face and it's so funny.
홍보. 아, 그 지금 얘기했습니다. 그치? 끝나고. 네.
해보게 라이브. 시공창 같은 삶에서 또 다시 일어나. 와. 라라라라.
오, 진짜네?
날이 기뻤어. 나 들어와. 나를 와이퍼 먼저 쌓고 내가 나이스리면 나이스를 널 쓰고 내가 나이스리면 나이스를 말 플러스 나 클라이스를 내면서.
Then of course Jimin's dance practice video for obvious reasons. Grasping power with V is also a pretty entertaining video that will give you a good old laugh.
부끄러운 일 하네. 부끄러운 일 하네. 저희 위치 보면은. 쉽게 이기는 거 가져줄게요. 가위 내면 진짜 힘을 때려야지.
And lastly, for overall favorite moments is just the video of them at ASC where they're acting all wild and crazy and I just love it, LMAO.
아닌데 이거 아닌데. Where are you? 비밀이야. 안돼.
So overall this was the era where the boys came back to their roots in a way, but also tried out new things, and there were definitely some killer looks for the boys during this time, and I really miss them and wish they'd come back sometimes. Anyways, I hope you liked this episode and are looking forward to next week's. LMAO, thanks for watching, and see you next time.
선명해 비둘이 세상에 닿는 소리 피식 웃음 최고의 배경음악 미친놈처럼 콧노래를 흥얼거린다 비가 오는 짙은 세속 위에 여전히 잠 못 이루는 내 가려진
Oh, he's a Hollywood star.
Oh, I'm rich. I'm rich, so expensive. Bless this. I have a chain.
You have a chain. That don't mean nothing to me.
You like this?
It's all right.
You like this? You like this chain?
$3.